Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, right here on 92.9 KVRE and streaming online at kvre.com. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, welcome back to the hot seat. Good week for sports, don't you think?
Man, we loaded up. I tell you what, got a little taste of football over the weekend, of course, and man, it felt good. I filled up, I'll be honest with you, but there's a lot more to go, and I need some dessert and some more. But, man, what a round of some opening games. It was crazy, but, hey, I think we got a little bit clearer picture, not only at the high school ranks, the college ranks, but even at the professional ranks. The picture just got a little bit more clear, Mark.
Yeah, I think so as well. We're going to talk about football quite a bit on this week's show, whether it be the high school ranks, NFL Week 1 in the books. We'll even have the latest in National Park College Nighthawk athletics news. But we begin this week's show in the college football ranks, where the Arkansas Razorbacks almost pulled off a pretty impressive upset over the number 16 Oklahoma State Cowboys, outgaining the Cowboys by 263 yards offensively. Hey, the Hawks found themselves sitting pretty by halftime, leading 21-7, but it was a tale of two halves, however, as Arkansas faltered down the stretch, plagued by turnovers to allow OK State back into the game, where the Cowboys were able to prevail in double overtime. Tracy, this is a sting that Razorback Nation may feel for quite some time, but no matter how you view this game, whether Arkansas threw it away or Oklahoma State just roared back for a miraculous comeback, you have to admit that it felt pretty good to see Arkansas right there in the fight against one of the top teams in the country. What letter grade do you give Arkansas's performance last week?
I've been asked this a couple of times this week, Mark, actually. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go I had to go with a B-. I'll be honest with you. Yes, yards, got them. Score, but my question, though, Mark, was this a moral victory or a horrible loss? Obviously, number 16, but still, we had them. It was in the books, everybody. But you knew, and every Razorback fan in the area knew, you'd seen this play out before. And I'm not being negative by no means, but we'd seen this play out before. We hadn't been in overtime and a successful one since you recall a game back in the day, as they say, with Ole Miss, which was one of the record settings in overtimes. But we've just seen this time and time again. It was just a matter of time. And I hated it for the kids, man. That was, but like you said, it was something to build on. So my question, I got a B-. What'd you score it?
Well, I'll get to that in a second. An interesting stat that I saw for this game specifically, there's only been one time in the history of college football where a team has amassed 550-plus total yards on the ground and outscored their opponent by more than outgained their opponent by more than 250 yards and lost. And it happened on Saturday for the first time ever in college football history. Something like 337-1 are teams that are in that position. So yeah, this one stings a little bit. I give the Razorbacks a C- here. Still a passing grade, but the second half really just was a different identity for this squad. Did they force overtime late with a pretty impressive drive in the closing seconds of the fourth quarter? The fourth, yeah, they did. In overtime, though, the team kind of just ran out of gas, and you kind of thought, yeah, this may be coming. It's more of holding on for dear life than just trying to cross the finish line. And Oklahoma State is a very talented football team that found a way to get it done. But here's what I see out of this Razorback squad. I am typically a glass half empty kind of person, but this week, I'm not, because what I've seen out of this Razorback squad, 70-0 over UAPB. Okay, yeah, it's UAPB week 1, but still an impressive offensive performance. This is back-to-back really strong offensive performances. Bobby Petrino has to feel certainly very welcomed back to this program because you can see a change in this team. I mean, Talon Green passes for more than 400 yards. In the rushing game, Jaquindon Jackson looking great with 3 rushing scores. This team feels pretty balanced. You know, if they can shore up some of their major issues with turnovers and maybe just a few defensive gaps, especially in the second half, this is a wildly different football game. It just got out of hand.
Well, Mark, and here's the idea. The passing game, like you were talking about, he forced several throws, but any great quarterback, if you throw for that many yards, you're going to make a few mistakes. If you have that many attempts, you are probably more than likely going to get picked, okay? But what really frustrated me was one thing that a lot of folks overlook, and that's special teams. You hear me talk about it all the time. Offense, defense, but special teams. And for your up back to run into the guy catching the ball, not once, but twice, that is something that lacks communication. And that is something that you've heard me harp on through the years, communication. We have the answer right there by, whether it's a professional baseball game or college or even in the lower ranks, you call somebody off when you're catching the ball in the outfield or in the infield or whatever. You call them off. I don't get it. Now, I know the crowd was loud, don't get me wrong, but when you're 20 feet from somebody and you're screaming at them, they're going to hear you. But twice, Mark, that just showed me, I don't know, that from the coaching standpoint, that somebody wasn't listening, obviously, but also they've got work to do, but you just can't make those kind of mistakes in a tight game. But I'm going to throw something at you real quick. Congratulations, because you were almost spot on with your call with your what you said the game was going to come, the output of it.
Yeah,
man.
Pretty close on the scoring prediction there. I actually predicted a close game, I believe, as did you as well.
Well, I was less though. You almost hit it on the nose.
Numerous people on social media, I watched throughout the week, and I know there's a lot of diehard Razorback fans in the state, and of course, I'm very notably not one. I try to give an objective approach to Arkansas's team, but I saw a lot of laugh emojis and people laughing. There's no way Arkansas is even close in this game. It's going to be a blowout, and I think very impressively, Arkansas really kind of showed maybe the state, hey, we're here and we're ready to party. We're not done yet this season. So, yeah, is the undefeated season no longer attainable? Absolutely. But that was never the goal. Let's be honest. That was never the goal.
No.
It was not national championship or bust this year for the Arkansas Razorbacks. We all know that. But what we do see is a team that's 1-1, generating a ton of offense right now, has some defense and some special teams issues to fix right now. But no time really to dwell on the past as you move forward. The Razorbacks have UAB today.
Dragons coming.
3:15 kickoff in 2 games. Like I said, we've seen a team that can score a lot of points, generate offense. I think the keys to this game today are for Arkansas to shore up those weaknesses, correct the defensive gaps, secure the football. They can go 2-1 in 3 games and really get themselves in a great position, battle-tested, mentally ready for SEC play just around the corner.
I think this is definitely, Mark, just like you're talking about. I think today will provide us with enough information, all right, to see, have they turned the table on, everything else? What has happened is done. You've got to be able to pass up and then go, hey, look, we lost. We're over it. Let's get ready for the next one, because you're only as good as what? Your next game.
That's right.
Okay, so today they have to make a defining statement. Offense has to come back out, still generate. Defense has definitely got to do what they've been doing, but also special teams, Mark, once again. But I think today is the defining moment in the rest of their season. I'm not looking ahead at Auburn or anybody else down the line. Today's the day. You take one game at a time, and I think today is a defining moment for the rest of their season.
I think that's a great message there, because Auburn does loom ahead next week in Alabama. That's going to be a tough matchup. We all know this. So not overlooking UAB is the message today, making sure that you stay focused on the opponent in front of you to work to get that job done.
Well, Mark, and that's the essence of it right now. Look, I was impressed, no doubt, with Pittman's, the way he just sort of, he didn't put it on the kids. He came out and he said, this one's on me, my bad. He said, we laid down a little bit. And just like you said, Mark, you're exactly right. They just sort of was trying to save the lead. They weren't going after it. And, and one thing I saw with Petrino, you kept seeing those same run plays over and over, and then the play action pass. So if you saw most of the offense, like you were talking about in the rushing yards, that was in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, there was next to none hardly. Now, they did come back with a 3-play TD, but it was all on passing, and it was straight up passing. Now, granted that the quarterback was running for his life a couple of times, but he knows how to scramble. did you see the likes in him, what everybody was saying this week about another quarterback that was at Arkansas at one time?
Oh, yes.
Matt Jones.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I think those comparisons are legitimate as well because, when you look at this breakdown between Arkansas and Oklahoma State, I mean, the Razorbacks won up and down the stat sheet: total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, even yards per play, 7 yards per play. This is an offense that's going to do some really great things this season. And specifically, when you get into SEC play and you're against tough competition, probably some of these multiple teams that are ranked in the top 10 out of the SEC, know what I'm talking about?
Jeez, yeah.
You may find yourself playing from behind in some of these games. And I think this Razorback squad has the offensive caliber to be able to make those plays, those drives, to try to turn the tide in games. As long as they're not going down by multiple scores, this is a team that always really feels like that it could be in the hunt as long as they stay healthy and as long as they stay focused and error-free.
Yep. Well, let's go over a couple more of those games a little bit later on, too, because, hey, just like we were talking about, the AP poll, I don't keep up with it. I'm more of a coach's poll, okay? And they hardly ever show that one. AP, nothing against it, but it's a bunch of riders sometimes. If you recall from last year, Mark, the top 10, after the first week, 4 of those top 10 got beat. And then if you go all the way out to the top 25, 14 of those teams got beat the first week from the AP poll. All right? And noted this week, well, what happened to, what was that team? Notre Dame? But we'll talk about that.
Hey, I love to see epic collapses. I do, as long as it's not my team. That's the one that's epically collapsing. But I love to see the underdogs. I love to see the Appalachian States, and now it's the NIUs of the world.
NIUs, yes. And they're, by the way, in the top 25 now.
Well, you gotta be. You just beat number 5 Notre Dame.
Oh, man, I tell you what, we're going to come back. We're going to talk more sports, football.
We've got NFL when we come back. Don't go anywhere. More Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition coming your way next, right here on 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up. Stay tuned.
And we're back here on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. The second quarter of today's show deals with the National Football League, where week 1 of the NFL is officially in the books. Tracy, we were texting back and forth on Sunday, and I probably owe you a public apology for this one. So for weeks, you confidently stated that a deal was going to be in place for Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott before the start of week 1. And I started to have some major doubts about that, but you actually turned out to be right. Literally, hours before kickoff on Sunday, Dak gets his bag, a 4-year, $240 million contract, before going out and absolutely destroying the Cleveland Browns, who, I might add, Vegas had favored in that game for some reason. Anyway, Prescott's deal includes $231 million guaranteed and an $80 million signing bonus. But now that Dak has his dollars and the contract discussion distraction is now over, what do you expect to see out of the Pro Bowl quarterback this season?
Well, obviously he's got some tuning up to do. And we know, I'd seen some highlights of him throwing actually at one of the local high schools and stuff with some of his former receivers and such. Okay, he's trying to stay in tune. But he still, you could see that he was still lacking a little bit of his timing and such, not nearly wanting to scramble as much. He was more or less staying protected. But I did see one thing that I saw improvement on. The Dak in the pocket, where he would at one time get sacked or he would throw a pick. Dak give it back, Prescott. But I saw him utilizing throwing the ball away, even grounding it a couple of times just to get it out of there. And that right there showed that maybe he's learning a little bit more. I know, 8 years in the league. But there's always room for learning. And I did see that. But I think you're seeing him more or less being a little bit more secure at the ball and learning his new receiving core, which it is new, except, Lamb's there. And now his tight end has a high ankle sprain, but he will be back. So this new receiving core, I see him getting adjusted to it, and I'll be doggone if who's that running back that actually showed some promise?
That's Ezekiel Elliott, who had 10 carries for 40 yards and a rushing touchdown. Welcome back, Zeke. But going back to Prescott, 19 of 32 through the air, 179 yards, and 1 passing touchdown. Tracy, I ask you that question because we have seen other NFL quarterbacks in the past that either have holdouts or maybe some adversity. There's some distraction because of a contract. They finally get their money, and then once the money is there, they tend to underachieve going into the season. So do you think that let's go to Lamar Jackson for the Ravens, for example.
Before he got his.
Lamar Jackson, the Ravens did not give him his money last year. And he went ahead and played anyway, played with that chip on the shoulder, kind of like what we were expecting maybe from Dak in our discussion on this topic last week. Lamar Jackson goes out and has an epic season, MVP season, and now that Dak has his money, do you think that he will, does that change his mindset entering this season, or is it, hey, now I can just take care of business and play football?
I think that those two guys got two different ways of approaching the game, though. If you look at Lamar, he was the kind of guy that says, I'm going to get out there and bust, and he goes 110 miles an hour all the time. And you're looking at Dak, and he's the kind of guy that sort of looks at it from being man of the year, the community, that kind of deal, as of not wanting to let anybody down. I think he wears a lot of his feelings on his sleeve, and whereas Lamar, he just goes out and he's going to do it because he wants that MVP, he wants that bonus money, that kind of a deal, and he's going to, sacrifice his body and blah, blah, blah. Whereas Dak's a little bit, I think he's a little bit more as far as his presence being known and him wanting to impress his fan base, not so much who that guy is that owns the team. Anyway, but I think that's his essence right there, Marcus. He wants to impress nobody. He wants to show off his skills. And once he's got a good team around him like he does right now, I mean, obviously, with the way they scored, I think he wants to show people that he's worth it. I think he'll come from this game. Hey, look, you said under 200 yards and still a big win. It wasn't all about Dak.
And it didn't have to be.
No, it didn't. He had everybody else step up. And I think that, once his number is really called, that's going to be the difference maker. A tighter game this week against a team that really performed in New Orleans, but of course they're going into their 6.5-point favorites. I think that he's going to do what Dak has to do. You didn't see him rush the ball because, like I said, Dak give it back. You didn't see that happen. Under 200 yards, one touchdown. That's not too impressive by no means as far as a quarterback. But what you did see is him play within himself and trying to make sure that they, kept the game under control. I think he only gets better from here. And I'll be honest with you, and I wouldn't have said that last year, but I saw a different Dak this last Sunday.
Dallas and New Orleans is a topic that we will get to later on in the segment. A lot of stories from week one in the NFL. And, of course, it wasn't without its share of controversy either, Tracy. Boy. Yeah, this one's coming. Absolutely. So prior to the Dolphins and Jaguars game, star wide receiver Tyreek Hill was detained for reckless driving without a license and not wearing a seatbelt. Hill was removed from his vehicle, placed in handcuffs, and pinned to the ground. Now, he was eventually released and went on to have pretty big day for the Dolphins, racking up 130 yards on 7 receptions and a score. But your thoughts on the Tyreek Hill situation pregame?
Mark, here's the situation. And have you seen the video yet?
I have watched the video, okay. Yes.
I understand where the police came from. I truly do. We back the badge for the most part here, Mark. And for him, okay, you're in a Lambo, and you're going 110 down there trying to get to the game, and I understand that. Well, when they pull him over, why did he not just get out? Why did he not roll down his window? They're sitting there asking him time and time and time again. Why didn't he did not act like a professional at that point. Now, I'm saying professional, whether it's in sports or a businessman, he didn't act professional. He could have rolled his window down a little bit and tried to explain it. What was going on inside that car? He was on the phone, obviously, but at that point in time, why didn't he just roll the window down? And just like you were taught, I was taught, give out your ID, your insurance form, your, whatever the paperwork is, and be done with his business and get a ticket and move forward. Why do you have to make such a big presentation as far as everything? Now, granted, I don't know how they gave him without a seatbelt because you couldn't see inside the car. But if I was the cops, I would have got excited too. Their life is on the line every day. They leave their house every day not knowing if they're coming home. I don't understand his professionalism on that, Mark.
My opinion on this changed as soon as I saw the the body cam video, and I'm in agreement with you, Tracy. As it definitely seemed like Tyreek Hill. Even with the way that he was speaking to the officers, he was rushed. He was in a hurry. He needed to get to the stadium, needed to get ready for the big game, the season opener, and everything. And I know that the team has come out and has denounced the Miami-Dade Police Department. Sheesh. But I think that there are certainly things that could have been done better, really on both sides. But certainly, this all started with Tyreek Hill, unfortunately, because the rolling of the window back up, you can see on the body cam footage. You cannot really see inside the car, and if I have to put myself in the shoes of those officers at the time, I have a lot of questions that I just don't have answers to. So that's a tough situation. Of course, Tyreek Hill does go on to have a very big game, helps lead the Dolphins to victory in that one, but certainly very controversial week one story there for the NFL. So we'll move on.
Well, Mark, just real quickly, and I don't want to bring this up, especially with all the commotion around it and everything, but just because you're a professional sports guy, or even that, or a musician, anybody in the limelight, are you above the law? Are you above the law?
No one is.
No one is. It's that simple.
No one is.
And I think it was inappropriate the way they acted, and we'll leave it at this right here. And that's just, hey, this is our opinions, and you can think what you want to think, but I don't think anybody should act that way. And what is that showing? Here's the biggest part, Mark. What is that showing to the younger generation and the kids that watch you and just have posters of you? And what is that showing that generation?
Hey, I myself have a youngster in my own house that worships the ground that Tyreek Hill walks on, even though he's not with the Kansas City Chiefs anymore. So I get it. I absolutely get it. These guys are role models for the younger generation, whether they want to be or not. Everybody is watching NFL football in the United States of America. They just are. Tracy, we're going to move on. We've got a few more topics about NFL Week 1. Want to know what your biggest surprise was of Week 1? The biggest moment, the biggest result, the biggest game that stood out to you like, I can't believe that happened.
Well, we thought it was going to be a little bit closer. I thought it had been a little bit more competitive, but actually it was Monday night.
Oh, you got mine too. Go ahead.
It was Monday night. What happened there? At first, we saw, well, one thing was a record set by San Francisco as far as field goals. I didn't see that one coming, but here's another deal like we just talked about a while ago. No practice time in preseason. Where was the Aaron that we knew from years ago? And I realized he's coming off the big injury and everything, but where was that? His timing for a little bit with Wilson was fine and everything, but then all of a sudden he just came unglued. And San Francisco, until that late touchdown at the very end when they just sort of just gave it to him or whatever, they just, went in there with a backup
running back.
And literally just, had their way with them. That game right there threw me off. Absolutely.
Hey, you talk about the Jets. We talked about this before. Prime time Monday night. Aaron Rodgers is back. This is the stage that he wants. Mm-hmm. He didn't show up for his own performance there. Yeah, mine also was the 49ers beating the Jets that badly without Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the league, and Brandon Ayuk, the receiver that just got his deal. And he was going into that match, and the coach said, hey, he's going to have limited snaps. He hasn't been with us all preseason at the camp. He hasn't had to really learn the offense and become attuned to the offense. So no Ayuk, or very limited Ayuk, I should say. No McCaffrey at all, and still that big of a victory for San Fran. I may have picked the wrong team to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.
Well, and of course, Mason, they kept showing that highlight reel of him all week long. Hadn't had that many yards since he was in high school. And but that just shows you right there the kind of skilled linemen that they have. And I'm not discounting anything from McCaffrey or whatever, but that just shows you, and you and I talk about this all the time, the trenches. Mm-hmm. And that's where games are won and lost. I got news for you. But that just shows you the caliber of a team that San Francisco has. And seeing those receivers block the way they were, and like you said, hey, missed passes a couple of times. Otherwise, Brock would have had a more exceptional game with dropping what he dropped 2, I believe, that were right there. So that just shows you, and what I talked about as far as San Francisco being, are they the real deal? And like you said, are the Jets they got to work on something.
Yeah, because the Jets defense is touted so highly, and their running back Breece Hall, and they have Aaron Rodgers, and he has some of his receivers that he had when he was back in Green Bay. It really just feels like Green Bay, but just in new uniforms. I don't know. I wasn't super impressed with the performance of the Jets, I'll be honest.
What's your games tomorrow? What's your game tomorrow?
So looking ahead to some week 2 matchups here, right. Some of the ones that really stand out to me, Steelers at Broncos is a big one. Right. I was pretty impressed with Boswell literally scoring 18 points to help Pittsburgh beat Atlanta. 18. Kirk Cousins looked terrible.
Horrible.
And, hey, maybe that has something to do with those injuries and how hard they are to come back from. The Achilles is no joke. So Steelers at Broncos is one that I really like. I'm still a big fan of Bo Nix. I know he's 0-1 after falling to the Seahawks. I think this could be a very good game. 49ers at Vikings. Minnesota had a very great defensive performance beating up on the New York Giants. This could be a battle of defensive juggernauts. And then, of course, hey, Saints at Cowboys. I think that will be a very telling matchup as well between two 1-0 teams.
You didn't wait, what? The Bears? Now, come on. Defense, special teams, that's me. I mean, offense, okay, but
offense wasn't there, Tracy.
Well, his coming out party was all the candles didn't get blown out. I'm gonna be honest with you, but this may be a little different. But they got to play at Houston with a not a rookie anymore, but showed some impressive moves in his first game as being a true pro. You think that quarterback's going to show the rookie thing or two?
Well, here's the deal. There's a reason I didn't include this in my top 3 matchups of the week, because Chicago's 1-0. They got it done. But if they have that same performance against C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, they're going to go home to Chicago very, very unhappy. They got a lot of things to work on this week, and I don't see this as a super close matchup. I have Houston circled in this one big time.
No doubt about that.
Prove me wrong.
No, I'm not. And plus, it's the solo game that night. Everybody's going to be watching it. Sheesh.
Prove me wrong, Bears fans.
Houston's looking pretty good.
All right, that's it for NFL coverage this week on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. When we come back, we'll check in on the National Park College Nighthawks. Nighthawk Nation has a lot going on, and we'll touch on all of that when we return on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE, quarter number 3. He's Tracy. I'm Mark. Big things happening over at National Park College these days. Nighthawk Nation is in full swing. Pun intended. Baseball and softball well underway in their fall exhibition schedules, and men and women's soccer gearing up for very key matches next week. But let's start on the diamond. And first, we start with Nighthawk softball. Coach Autumn Wyatt's Nighthawk women started off their season with a triple header last week at Kimmery Park in Hot Springs. Fared very well for themselves. 2 wins and 1 draw. Gracie Fowler, the Nighthawk sophomore pitcher from Genoa Central down in Texarkana, had a very strong performance in the fall opener. 9 strikeouts. She struck out the first 6 batters that she saw, and just an excellent dominating pitching performance for a squad that's really trying to gear up to win its first NJCAA Region 2 championship this season against one of the top teams in the nation in Murray State College. But I loved seeing all the sophomore returners get their first action of the fall. A lot of new faces as well that have come in to bolster the pitching core or to fill some major gaps in the infield and the outfield. This looks like a very complete team. I know Coach Autumn Wyatt was very impressed with last year's squad, and looking at this squad, I know it's early. I know it's 3 games of fall ball, but this is a team that I think could actually go the distance this season and win that first Region 2 championship.
Mark, it's so fast-paced. That's what I love about it, man. They get after it. And from what I've seen so far and what I've heard you calling, it looks like they've got some kids that are going to come in and make some really show some action right off the bat. You sort of sometimes see that lull from high school, the transition there to the college level, but it looks like she's got some players right now that are ready to go.
It's an extremely competitive league all across the state of Arkansas and Oklahoma as well. Some of the top dogs include Carl Albert State College and Western Oklahoma State College. Of course, Murray State College out of Tishomingo, Oklahoma is the team to beat. They've won multiple Region 2 championships in a row. I think it's 8 in a row, always representing the region in the national standings, going going very deep in the national tournament. So, they're the one that everybody has circled, the Aggies, but NPC looks like it's back, reloaded, and ready to rock. And on the baseball diamond, Tracy, I'll be honest, I've kind of lived at Majestic Park over the past few weeks. A lot of fall baseball for Rich Thompson's guys, and this team looks really, really good. Kind of had a lackluster year last year, dealing with injuries in the regular season. They turned it on very, very late. Literally had to win on the final day of the regular season to even make the playoffs. They did. They go into the postseason, and they knock off some very big top dogs, ending their season, specifically the University of Arkansas Rich Mountain, the in-state rival from Mena, and finished in the top 4 in the district tournament. So not a bad showing for NPC, and it looks like that momentum is really carried into the fall this year. Tons of new faces coming from all across the country and even all across the world, as a few Australians joined the mix this year. But I had the opportunity to watch multiple games, faring very well against North Arkansas College, outscoring the Pioneers 42-4, and then against Carl Albert State College last week in a triple header at Majestic Park. I think we were on the air for like 8 hours that day. Highly impressed. NPC takes game 1 and game 2. They finish in a 4-4 draw in game 3, but the offense is absolutely there. No surprise to anybody here in Garland County who's been following his journey, but Wesley Campbell, the former Fountain Lake Cobra, has been smacking the baseball like it's nobody's business. The fall home run leader for National Park College this fall. He is a mainstay in this lineup. I may also see him out on the mound also this year, and over on the hot corner on third base. Every time he comes to the plate, he's swinging for the fences. More often than not, he's sending it out of the park.
Mark, and talking to his dad, Red, it just seems like he's learning the game more and more and more, which, once again, I'll reiterate, when you come from the high school ranks to the collegiate level, sometimes you skip a beat. Well, it looks like he's just starting to increase his knowledge. And I say knowledge, positioning is a lot in baseball. That's one of your babies right there. But you know as well as I do that you play in third base, first base, whatever position you're at, even pitching, you have to still study the game and study your opponent. And of course, you still got to play your own game. But knowing out there and going out, knowing the positioning of it, it just helps a little bit more. And knowing your foe, who you're playing against. And I think that's what he's reading a lot also. He's getting to know the other teams and where they should situate maybe with this batter or whatever. I think he's studying the game a little bit more.
Yeah, I think he's doing his homework on opposing pitching, like you said, as well, because when you're a power hitter like that, you've got to know what's in their repertoire. You got to know what they have, fastball, curveball, slider, and what order that they go into. So, another local standout for this program that we've seen early, just a freshman coming in this fall, is Brent Davis. He's a former Lake Hamilton Wolf. We've talked about him a few times on this program already. An excellent season for the Wolves last year as a senior. He, alongside Brian Rates, I think Brent Davis is going to be that 1-2 punch on the mound for National Park College. I know the season doesn't actually begin until January, but National Park College looking to get a little battle tested. Get ready here in the fall, as this week upcoming, they'll take on OBU down in Arkadelphia, and then they'll turn around and play Arkansas Tech University in Russellville. So little National Park College, right, going against some of these big dogs across the state, maybe some in-state, out-of-conference rivalries developing. I love that Coach Rich Thompson is able to get these matchups down where NPC can go and grow and maybe even come back with some big upset wins. It's been a very strong start to the fall for his guys.
Mark, and what I like about this also is when you say in-state, these young men, they've seen or played against each other at the lower level, okay? And when you say Tech and OBUs of the world, more than likely they have played either in a tournament or actually in the same conference, so they get to see each other again. And the camaraderie there, I know they're not on the same team by no means, but that's something special when you get to see that kind of, fellowship when these young men get together, and young women too, as far as that's concerned on softball fields. But you get to see them come out and go, and rekindle, not only that friendship possibly that they have, because social media nowadays, everybody keeps up with everybody, but also just the competitive, level comes out, and they're like, oh yeah, you got us in that one game or that one tournament or whatever. Well, now we're together on a different level. And I like seeing that a lot, the kids prior to that. And I know you see it all the time, but I love the competitive, but also the fellowship of these young men and young women getting back together and rekindling old spirits and such and playing against each other. It's pretty cool.
Nighthawk Cross Country has its first meet in the books this fall. They ran in the Bob Gravitt Invitational down at OBU in Arkadelphia. Top finishers for the Nighthawk women, Bethany Brashears of Fountain Lake, and for the men in the 8K, Alex Pacheco of Lakeside High School comes in 24th overall for a very impressive performance. Coach Mike Prince, very impressed with his team so far, still just at the starting line of the season, pun intended, and they're gearing up for their next meet to come. I believe it's going to be the Chili Pepper Festival coming up in Fayetteville. Last but not least, Nighthawk Soccer. Hey, big matches coming up Wednesday, September 18th. The University of Arkansas Cossatot. This is the first Region 2 showdown. There's only 2 teams in the region for men and women's soccer. It's National Park College and UA Cossatot. So these are the ones that matter. Everything else has been a tune-up up to this point. The Nighthawk women and the Nighthawk men gearing up to go against the Colts, looking for some big wins. Of course, the women coming off of a Region 2 championship last season after sweeping Cossatot in 2 games. And then for the Nighthawk men, they're looking for their 3rd consecutive Region 2 championship. Coach Corey Irvine's squad's gearing up, ready to go for big matches at Hot Springs World Class High School, September 18th. It's a Wednesday. I believe it's a 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock kickoff. I'll have all the action live at np.edu/live.
Mark, and let me just state something a little bit more. Not only baseball, but also softball. I've got a daughter-in-law that coaches at the collegiate level, Division II over in Oklahoma. So, and you're looking at these young men and young women that are playing for National Park or one of the community colleges in the area. Trust me, at that level, they're all good.
Oh, yes.
They're all good. And what I see is the little chip on the shoulder from when I've seen them play and stuff. Because at one time, they might have been maybe a Razorback or a Sooner or an Oklahoma State Cowboy or a Central Arkansas Bear. And then they decided, well, maybe this is a better fit for me at the community level. They're all good at that level. And to see them, don't demise that the play is not any better. So I'm going to tell you, you see that a lot nowadays. And I saw that last one I watched and then listening to you, I heard of players that, came out and maybe just a game here or a game there, and they didn't get slotted in for, a Division I, a D1 or D2. But the play level is still tremendous.
You're right. They all have chips on their shoulder because you're right. Some may call it like a stepping stone when you go to junior college athletics. But the truth is that they haven't made it to where they want to be yet. They're still working to achieve that goal, attain that Division I offer and that position on the next level. So everybody who comes in has the same goal. They want to continue playing at the next level. Every game is an audition, if you will.
Exactly.
Looking, is that coach watching? Is this scout watching? Are they seeing me? I'm going to give it 110%, everything that I can do. I want eyes on me because my eyes are on the prize headed to the next level. That's always the goal. And NPC embraces that as well, looking to send every student athlete to their next athletic home. When we come back, we'll talk high school football right here on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. Don't go anywhere on 92.9 KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
Fourth quarter is here. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, high school football well underway this fall here in Central Arkansas. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing out of the Garland County teams, even the Saline County teams, the teams here in our region making waves with some early season stories. I don't really feel like I can start anywhere but here. Lakeside. The Rams are the real deal, Tracy. I thought that they may have a tough test on them going against Sheridan. I was proven incorrect. 56-27. Lakeside doesn't just beat Kevin Kelly's Sheridan Yellow Jackets, beats them easily at home in Ram Country. Man, Coach Rock has to be on top of the world right now.
And rightly so. He's got some really good players over there, but also the staff is really working hard also. And I know you keep everything under your wings as being the head coach, but also it fans out at that level. It's almost collegiate level, you've got to have a good squad, also a good coaching staff, and he has just that. And all the way from the offense, defense, to the special teams, and then individuals. I think that's one of the biggest part right there is they have something to work with. The running backs, the coaches have a quarterback coach, the line, D, everything, and it takes everybody in full motion to do that. And I think that's what you're seeing right now is a coaching squad that's getting the best out of their players. And yes, they've got some good athletes that are going to go to the next level, several D2s, some D1s, but the main essence here is they are coaching at a high level. And I'm seeing, and it's not that the other coaches around the region aren't, but I'm just seeing that for some reason they're meshing a little bit more because, like you said, Mark, I'll agree with you. We've in this particular region, and I'm going to call it the Southwest region, we've got some teams right here that are going to be vying for the state championship. I promise you that. And there's some really good teams here in Arkansas, the Greenwoods of the world, the Warrens of the world. And, the Patriots, we're going to see some good teams come up. But I think you're going to see some teams here locally, though, that are going to be vying for that state championship.
Yeah, Lakeside certainly in the driver's seat after big wins over Lake Hamilton and Sheridan. I've seen some polls that have had the Lakeside Rams up as high as number 2 in the state, number 3 in the state, and I think that's fair for right now. Obviously, Little Rock Parkview is going to be the team to beat in Class 5A, but hey, those two teams clash later on this season, and the way things are going, that will be a matchup of epic proportions. Other matchups being featured later on this week, we've got Mountain Pine at Hackett, kind of a slow start for the Red Devils this year, hoping to bounce back on the road against the Hornets. Mount Ida is at Bearden. Jessieville plays host to Haskell Harmony Grove this week. Big matchup for you, Tracy?
Well, no doubt about that. We'll see what they have to offer for that. But I think that this is going to be a tough one. You're seeing a clash between different 3s and 4As and stuff. But I think you're seeing the resurgence also of a team that's got the capability of running deep into the playoffs. Now, once again, we're seeing some teams that are really struggling to, Mark, also. But you know what? You play every game. You play 4 quarters. And every weekend, you may see a different aspect of it. Once again, you're seeing teams like nowadays that are having new coaches. So the question here is the honeymoon going to be over by the time those two clash?
I think this is going to be a very exciting matchup to watch. I think it could be a coin flip as well. We've seen Haskell Harmony Grove over the years, and just the way that their offensive scheme really just...
You don't know where it's
going. It just disrupts the rhythm of the game in a good way for the Cardinals, don't get me wrong, but you have to plan very, very specifically for one team in general, and that's sure to throw anybody off their groove. Other matchups, Centerpoint versus Spring Hill. Here's probably a very big one. Benton at Harding Academy. The Wildcats, boy, that program, I don't know what it is. They keep moving up in classification too, Tracy, because
bigger and bigger.
Probably one of the best teams in the state, no matter what division that they are in. But of course, last but certainly not least, there will be football on Thursday, September 20th, and I believe it's the only game in the state of Arkansas. It's the Battle for the Gorge, Fountain Lake at Cutter Morning Star. Your thoughts?
That's going to be a tough one. I'm going to be honest with you because, as it is, resurging team, both of them coming out of the 8-man, level, but you're seeing two teams that are right across from each other, and these kids, it always seems to come back to this, Mark, that the kids have played against each other since they were in Pee Wee and such. And the transfer, hey, you've got a lot of kids that have come for both teams, and this is going to be another one of those decisive times when you're not quite at midseason, but you're really needing to see what's going on. And how's your team going to be in conference? You know what I mean? And I think you're going to see two teams that are going to get after it. Now, is the home field advantage going to be that for Cutter? I don't see it that much because, like I said, it's just right down the road.
It's not much of a road trip, right? Home field advantage, I think, matters at least somewhat in this matchup. But when I look at this matchup, and I get it, listen, I'm standing in front of a microphone on Thursday night, and I'm going to be calling for one of these teams specifically, and I've done it for the past 15 years. I get it. But when I try to look at this matchup objectively, I think that there's a really solid chance this is a close game, Tracy, because what I've seen so far out of Fountain Lake is a sophomore quarterback that's really doing amazing things with the football. Quarterback Cooper Buss, Peyton Harwood is turned into a very solid receiver for this squad. I mean, he's on par to break 2,000 yards receiving this year. I don't remember that a Fountain Lake receiver that's ever done that. And of course, on the other side, Cutter Morningstar has Peyton Mills, who's going to be playing on Saturdays very, very soon, likely for a very, very good program. So the air raid is going to be out and about. This is probably going to be a game that goes about 3 hours out there on Thursday, just being honest with you.
Minimum.
But I'm excited. The new offense for Fountain Lake, it's not that I needed a spark in my step. It's not like I needed to be uplifted, but I like change. And for me, this is something that feels like it's going to work when 7-4A play begins for Fountain Lake. All eyes are going to be on these two teams on Thursday night, and I think they're going to get quite the show as well.
Well, obviously, and like you said, this is going to go into the twilight, but I guess the biggest question, and not necessarily the score, how many yards are going to be totaled in that game? Because it is going to be up and down and up and down. I promise you that.
Tracy, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm going to go ahead and put this on paper. Combined between the two teams, there is more than 1,000 yards of offense in this game. Write it down.
Okay. Well, that's a possibility, too. I know they threw over 500 against Fountain Lake last year, but now we're seeing the resurgence of a totally different offense over at Fountain Lake, and we're absolutely loving it. I'm telling you what. And this is a rebuilding year. Make no bones about it, a rebuilding year for Fountain Lake as well. And sure enough, but these coaches are in the right direction, as well as over at Cutter, too, though. And Finley, Richardson, they're going to look, hey, they're not going to back off. They want to see what they've got. And especially with these two teams, they're young teams. Now, don't get me wrong, they've got a couple senior leaderships there, but you're talking about a couple of young teams and coming after it. And this is going to be a special one. Guys, I'm telling you what, you have nothing else to do on Thursday night. You need to come on out and see a special. It's going to be the game of the week. I promise you that. And it is going to be special. I can't wait. 1,000 yards. I'm with you on that one.
Most other teams in the region are off on bye weeks for week 3. Most teams began in week 0. These teams did not, obviously, but conference play looming right around the corner for all teams in the listening area, and we're excited for some big stories. We've already seen the beginnings here in this first, third of the season or so. Some teams that look like they're really headed in the positive direction. Other teams that may have stumbled at the starting line and looking to redirect things. But one thing's for certain, high school football is back. It's better than ever, and I can't wait to see where all these teams finish up down the road. That's our show this week here on 92.9 KVRE. You can text the show at any time during the week, 501-915-1300. For Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. You can catch Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 10 a.m. every Saturday morning right here on 92.9 KVRE.